Hey guys, welcome back. I was just looking through my phone's camera to free up space, and there's a couple of videos of us picking food and talking in the kitchen that I had taken for a video, and I think I'm going to put it together in like a little COVID relief style video. I'll try to do these once in a while. I know it was kind of popular last year when we were all sitting in lockdowns and people couldn't get outside. You know, there's a lot of people who watch from apartment buildings and they want a food forest, they want permaculture, they want land, they just don't have it yet. So this video will be along that line of thinking, like an inspiration for people to drive them towards creating something like this in their own way. So this will be very much a day in the life of, just come out with us and we'll chat while we pick our fruit. Trish took some kind of cool videos, and I want to get some more of her in some of these videos, if for nothing else. And when I look back 10 years from now, I have some pictures of, you know, my wife when we were 10 years younger. So I hope you enjoy this video, and let's get right into it. So quick little update, I wanted to show you the polyculture in a pot. You can see it's clearly not doing great. So we went basically on that Algonquin trip for a week, and then we came home, spent a couple days here, and then I was back out taking the kids on a fishing trip, like a fly-in fishing trip. Kind of want to expose them to more outdoor stuff as well, and you know, nothing got watered. So we had a huge heat wave and the grasses are struggling. These are some other plants that we had down near the pond, totally dead. And the reason I'm showing you this is that look at the resilience of polycultures and, you know, permaculture style planting, and everything here is just doing totally fine. It shrugged off the heat wave. We're still in the heat wave, but it's been shrugging the heat wave off. And you know, the proof's in the pudding here, guys. When I tell you that, look at the tomatoes. I haven't really been pruning these this year. They've just been growing wild. Haven't been keeping up with much stuff, but still getting production out of all this. In the permaculture food forest style planting, you know, if this doesn't speak to the robustness of the way that nature grows food and the health of the plants, compare all of this with the complete struggle of everything else around it. You know, the raspberries these are yellow because not that because they're dying, just because those canes are going into their second year. But we've got tremendous fertility and great shade down at the soil, great moisture retention in the soil. So I think this kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? So, you know, other people's gardens are all brown and dying and dead. We've got yellowing soybeans and corn in fields everywhere around here. Farmers just can't keep this stuff alive through this heat and just crazy weather that we've had. And look, we've got tons and tons of food growing here all around. We've still got tons of grapes coming up that we still have to keep harvesting. So when I'm telling you guys that this stuff works, I mean it. This stuff works. Lettuces are dry everywhere. We've got wonderful perennial sorrel, wonderful green, doing just fine. So welcome back to the food forest, guys. We just got back from our bike ride, grab a pear, and we're going to harvest a bunch of sea berries and like sea buckthorn berries and some grapes. So stick around and enjoy the show.
Keith says this is therapeutic.
And whenever we're picking food, Harry's not far away. Always hoping for a little treat.
Ah! Oh my God! My hand!
You know what I feel works good?
Wear gloves!
Yeah, some of the spikes are really small, eh?
Those are the ones that are coming to get me.
I'm gonna go take you over and show you the plant so you can actually see, you know, what the berries look like while they're still on the plant. It's a little tight. So this is the permaculture food forest downside, is when you plant really densely, you got pears like an inch over your shoulder and you're picking thorny things. You might need to stand up. Oh my gosh.
Wear protection.
Yeah, but here's the sea buckthorn plant. This is a wild one that I'd found. I kind of transplanted here. There's a big thicket somewhat near us. So this is what the berries look like. This one's always been a great producer. So we're gonna pick these, and it actually has quite decent sized berries. The bad side is you get some of these wild varieties and you get, you know, crazy thorns, and the thorns have thorns. So you just gotta be really careful around it. But we're gonna keep picking picking this. It's like acupuncture, you know, you get into free Chinese remedies.
I'm terrible at this.
You have been getting yourself into some seeds, buddy. It's a nice lazy Saturday. These sea buckthorn, they went from being something that I absolutely hated, but still ate because of how nutritious these things are, to actually I kind of enjoy them now. Like, they're not as bitter as I remember them, and maybe it's just because I'm getting used to the taste of them, and maybe my palate's changing as well. And maybe, like, you know, I know what I'm eating when I put it in my mouth. I know what I'm getting. I think the first couple ones that you put in your mouth are shocking. They're very bitter. They kind of, honestly, if you've ever had like Buckley's medicine, they kind of taste like that. And you know, I've read they taste like medicine because they are medicine. So these things are extremely healthy. And if you want more details on that, I did a video specifically on the health benefits of sea buckthorn. I also have a top bushes for your permaculture food forest video, and in that video, this one I think ended up being #1 if I remember correctly. And if I did that video again, I would certainly keep this as #1. It's probably one of my favorite plants. And it's not just how healthy the berries are. The tea from the leaves is also extremely healthy. And it's a nitrogen fixer, so it's just, you know, the only bad thing about this bush is that it's got crazy thorns, and some of the named varieties that I have really take care of that. The thorns are much better, and the berries themselves are much bigger. And it also requires a male plant for roughly every 6 or so female plants, so you'll need to make sure that you get at least 1 male plant. And we have a Lord variety for our male pollinator. And then these wild varieties here, some of the wild varieties are males too because they don't fruit. So we're getting great pollination. This tree has a ton of fruit. So make sure that you definitely look into getting at least a male variety plant as well with your females. But this is a great plant to add into your permaculture food forest. And one nice thing that I'm really discovering now is that the harvest time for these is very wide. So I can pick these now. They're a little more firm, but they're just as tasty and nutritious. They start to soften up, but these will actually hold on to the tree right into November. So depending on what the bloom time and fruiting time of all your other plants are, this is one that you can kind of just slide in whenever you have a free hole in your bloom times and you're not harvesting anything, and then you can go pick your sea buckthorn. So that's what we're kind of doing now. Is we've had our peaches all come in, our pears we're eating, and those are slowly coming in, and our grapes are coming in. And now we're just before the main pear season hits and the apple season. So we thought we'd come in and kind of grab all these up with the rest of the grapes, and then we can freeze them. These are amazing for smoothies. And as much as they taste like medicine, they add a really complex citrusy flavor to smoothies, to teas. If anyone's ever had like Chinese tea with dried goji berries, and you kind of just let those float in the tea and then you slurp them up at the end, that's kind of the idea. This is great in that role as well. They're great dehydrated, and they're great healthy food for pets. So if you can actually get your pets to eat these, it's great food for that. The Romans used to feed it to their horses because it gave them very shiny mats. They actually tried to get rid of some of their horses, you know, when they were old and dying and really sick, and they would release them into fields, and the fields just happened to have sea buckthorn on them. And then they'd come back, and the horses were in great health and very, very shiny coats. So they quickly realized that it was because the horses were eating the sea buckthorn. So you can see we've got quite a bit of grapes. Those are all off of our roadside guild. And get the rest off before the birds take the rest. The birds will kind of pick at them and then they'll be gone in one day. They'll take the whole rest. So as soon as you start seeing birds taking any of your grapes, it's really important that you go out and get the rest of them, because you know, it's good to feed the birds, but you do want to have some grapes. So you have to get them quick. Once the birds start taking them, they'll be gone really, really fast. So we'll continue harvesting these and then we'll catch up in a bit. One last thing I wanted to mention is that we're harvesting these by pulling them off, kind of in the middle of the summer, you know, dog days of summer. But you can actually cut these off, and because it's a nitrogen fixer, that's kind of what you want to do anyway, lots of pruning. So don't feel bad about that. So you can cut off some branches with some berries, and then you can actually stick that in your freezer and they'll freeze, and then when they come out you can smack them on something hard and the berries will kind of fall off. That's an easier way to harvest them. But right now the berries are fairly hard. They're not squishing between my fingers. So we figured we'd just come out and pick them for therapy.
This is not therapeutic. I've now had enough of this bush, and I'm sitting here like a little pincushion. So I figured I'd let you watch Keith. He just got a really bad thorn stuck right in his finger. Wish I had that on video. Nice big scream coming from that direction. Maybe we'll see another.
It went right up my cuticle.
It's actually quite therapeutic just sitting here watching him. So that's really good. He told me to go in and start washing the fruit. Well, I think I'm just going to sit here a little longer and enjoy the entertainment of this. Oh, now that I have it videoing, he's going to be a little bit more cautious of his screams. I told him the bush has had enough. We've got enough fruit off this bush. Give the bush a break. Let's go make smoothies and sit by the pond. That's therapeutic. He's holding back. The pricks, the thorns, they come out of nowhere. They're all different sizes. You don't see them. They camouflage into that bush.
But look, show this. Look what we got. Got a lot of good stuff.
See? Way better just sitting here and watching it. Watching it play out. what you get when you're greedy. Cleaning the bush of everything it has. You deserve to get some pricks and some thorns in you.
Right in my arm.
Harry's my little buddy. Relaxing next to me.
Ah.
Hi, sweetie. Hello. Hello, sweet guy. Harry's also enjoying the shade. Hey, buddy. Me and my friend.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
Buddy. Like a little teddy. Great berries, but terrible to harvest. The ones at the end of the branches are easy.
Yeah. And the name varieties are way better.
Yeah.
For thorns. So once the name varieties start getting bigger, I'll just basically cut these back until they're finally gone. These aren't going to do well under a lot of shade anyway, so once these trees get bigger, these will kind of just, they'll be outside of their natural environment and they just won't do well anymore. So these we only have a limited time of these, and then we'll have to put them like on the outside, like edges of the food forest where they're still getting sun. So we've got another maybe 5 to 10 years of these left, and then we'll have to almost like constantly be replanting them towards the edge.
Doing pretty good. You can see that there's lots of pears coming on it. It's not too bad this year. Still a bit hard. I tried one earlier. It's getting sweet, but it's still a little hard. So we're not going to pick them yet.
The Asian pear though.
Oh, the Asian pears. That's not this tree. The Asian pears are over in the front yard, and they're just tiny. Tiny little round shape of an apple, but tiny. And oh my gosh, it's like, I can't, they're so sweet. It's like, it tastes like honey actually. Like a little honey pear. Really, really, really good. These are the Asian pears. They're just tiny, but it's a small tree. We have a little stick holding up this one small branch that has quite a few pears on it. Otherwise, it probably would have broke right off. It wouldn't have been able to handle the weight of all these little pears. But it's just a small tree. It's not too old. I think the tree might be, trying to think of when Keith was given this tree. Possibly 3 years old, maybe, this tree. So 3 years since we've had it anyways. So it's doing really well. So I'll get a little closer. And you can see the size of these little plums. These little pears. You can see the size of these little pears. I'll pick one off so you can see it in my hand and you can judge the size of it better. So as you can see, it's just small. My hand's not giant, but they're really, really yummy. And actually when I pulled off that other pear, one fell on the ground, so I'll get that guy too. You can tell the difference. See how big this pear is in my hand versus that small Asian pear. Just to give you an idea of, those little Asian pears are small, but they're very, very tasty.
So thanks for watching and just sitting around hanging out with us while we pick food out of our food forest. I'm going to also include now at the end of this video a clip that we took in the kitchen where we were talking about processing and harvesting some of this fruit. Unfortunately, the camera must have gotten knocked and it's completely like turned sideways, and I'm half out of the video, so the video quality is really not great. But the problem is it was really good discussion. So some of you might actually like some of this. Why we're processing different foods in different ways. Why are we freezing and dehydrating our grapes and not making grape jelly? why am I not making some kind of syrup or jams out of the sea buckthorn? We talk about a little bit of this in this next part, so I'll include it. Just forgive me for the video quality. I would really throw all this out, but there's a lot of good info in there, and I figure some people will like it. So this is kind of the formal end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you want to stick around and see some of this post-processing the fruit in the kitchen, then stick around. Thanks guys, and I'll see you on the next video.
It can get pretty tedious if I do it myself.
Okay, so we're doing our harvest here. Let me just show you. So this is what we were picking, and we're just drying it out.
Well, I'm just feeding out all these orange sea buckthorn berries from the grapes. I'm going to wash them because even though we don't spray, I don't want spiders being dried in the dehydrator.
So we're pretty much just filling the dehydrator tray. We'll probably do a couple trays of grapes. I found of all the things that we dehydrate, grapes to make raisins, I mean, big surprise, is a really, really good one. The flavor that gets passed into the raisin is just unbelievable. Other really good ones were pineapple. The pears are really sweet pears. Those are very good dehydrated. Things that were really disappointing dehydrated, I would say, are the peaches, number one.
Yeah, the peaches were not great.
For some reason, like super, super sweet peaches just didn't dehydrate well at all. And apples. Apples were really kind of sucky dehydrated.
Yeah.
Elderberries and currants weren't very good dehydrated. I mean, you could still do that. But I just found that those are better fresh eating or turned into jams. I mean, the currants in a jam are really, really nice.
Tomatoes are really good dried.
Tomatoes are really good dehydrated.
Put whatever spices you want on them, and they're so good. You can just eat them dried with your spices on them after they're dehydrated, or you can put them in oil. We're going to make a lot of the grapes into raisins because I like to make a lot of scones, tea biscuits, and it would be so awesome to be able to use our own raisins in our scones.
Yeah, and the big thing is that the taste difference is there. So.
Oh, the flavor of like the dry, and we've only actually used the grapes from our backyard, which are a little bit smaller, but dried, they're so delicious. But we've never dried these ones before, so these are like a dark purple grape. So
yeah, and I should actually mention now that you said that. I found the varieties of our grapes in the back, at least the red one. So the red one in the backyard is a red Swenson. And that's the one that I said it's pretty good, but there's a large seed. So like it's nice and sweet and turned into a raisin. You don't really care if there's a seed because you don't taste it. That texture anyways. So that's a good one to turn into raisins. I don't know about fresh eating.
They're hard to process because they're so tightly clustered.
Yeah. And you just, you know, when they get that tight together, the spiders and stuff, they make homes in there, and like we don't spray. So you're gonna get that. That's one of the downsides of not spraying is that you have bugs and you gotta deal with the bugs. I don't find we lose much like yield to the bugs, but they are there. And, you know, spiders actually hanging out in the grapes is probably good because they're eating all the bugs that would eat the grapes.
Yeah, but they just take so much longer to process because they're so tight. And I don't want spiders crawling on me when I'm processing.
Yeah. So these ones here, the blue ones, these are actually called Valiant. This is the first year that we've had these. The vine is, I think, 2 years old. It's the one that I put right down by the street just for people walking by to eat. And we haven't got any grapes from there yet until this year, and I have to say they're fantastic.
Really good.
They're really good. They're almost seedless. The seed is so small, and the size is great, which is really good for Cold-Hearty varieties. Cold-Hearty grapes are really hard to find, and they tend to be like large seeds in them. These are very small seeds, and the neat thing about Valiant is that It's Cold-Hearty down to at least 45, minus 45 Fahrenheit. So this was a variety that was, I think, created in Michigan, and it is known as the most cold-hardy grape. So that's how I know which one it was, and I know which nursery I bought it from. So I looked that up. I did not expect anything out of these grapes because I figured cold hardiness, the seeds would be huge and they would taste terrible. These are fantastic. So look for, if you're at a Cold-Hearty, if you're in Alberta, if you're in Dakota, like North or South Dakota, Montana, you know, really cold climates, see if you can find Valiant. So it's been a fairly busy day. We've been outside a lot harvesting. A ton, and that is one of the maybe the downsides about making a food forest, is that it's actually, you get so much food, it's a lot of work. You don't realize, you know, when you just go to the store and you buy a bag of grapes or a bag of raisins, you know, how much work goes into processing that. So I mean, you don't really do this to save a ton of money. You will save money. But when you start factoring in your labor for, you know, harvesting the grapes and making raisins, and then you compare that to buying a $2.99 bag at the store, you're not going to save much money when you count your labor into it as well. So you're doing this because you love it and you want to give your family fresh, clean food, high nutritious food, and you just want a different life. Like today was actually wonderful outside.
Yeah. And honestly, it just feels so nice when you eat something that you know you grew and you processed it yourself. And I don't know, it's really nice.
And I get excited about saving money. So when I got my first pile of wood chips ever, I was like giddy in the car. I was singing some weird wood chip song, like "Give me free wood chips" or something like that, as I was driving. I was like wired. I was so pumped that I was getting free wood chips. So like pulling free food off of your front lawn just feels like, why doesn't everyone do this?
Honestly, when I saw these out there, I wasn't sure if they were edible because I didn't remember Keith planting this. And then when he brought them in, I brought in a first little batch. I was like, oh my God, these are so good. I like these way better than the grapes in the backyard.
Yeah, so that's Valiant grapes. So definitely check those out. And then we've got bunch of sea buckthorn. I just kind of got sick of picking them, so we have more that I could go out and pick, but you know, you probably heard me screaming picking some of those. I definitely screamed a little more when the camera was off.
They're hard, but they're really good.
Yeah, and I'll show you some of these, like the difference. I've mentioned some of my varieties before on this, so it's like Hergo, Chucksaya, Titan, there's something called orange, and then I have a wild variety. I don't know if you see the difference. So the difference in size is massive, and the thorniness is really, really noticeable as well. Much better for thorns, and I would definitely recommend that people go out and buy an actual name variety of sea buckthorn. So for the sea buckthorn, we're not going to dehydrate them. We're probably going to freeze pretty much all of them. I had tried to make like a syrup / jam thing, and because
it was so bad. It was so bad. And oh my God, you would like say to me, you have to eat at least a spoonful a day. You're not going to live as long as me if you don't. Oh my God, it was terrible. It was so terrible. Because it has a bitter taste to it. But the ones that you made that syrup jam with, or whatever it was from berries that we had picked off just wild plants. And they had actually froze first, so I don't know if that made a difference. Yeah,
I think they were well past
they were, yeah. Oh my God, they weren't good.
I always bug her that I'm going to outlive her by a couple decades. It's just a little inside joke we have. So if you're wondering why I said that I was making her eat it and telling her that I'll outlive her, I tell her that every day. I don't think I'm going to take a chance to try to make another jam. I know you can make juices. You can make like a syrup, like an elderberry syrup. But these are really not fruit for like yum like eating. It's fruit for, food is medicine. you know, I think of food as medicine, but it's a preventative medicine. So it's something that you want to be taking and eating healthy food to prevent yourself from getting sick. One of the reasons why I really want to freeze these or dehydrate them, you know, especially for medicinal stuff. So the reason why these are being frozen instead of turned into jam or something like that is that when you heat a fruit up, you actually destroy some of the nutrients in it. So I really think for stuff like sea buckthorn or black currants, elderberries, those kind of things, if you can avoid heating them up and you can just eat them raw or, you know, freeze them and then put them in a smoothie, you're going to get more nutrient out of each individual berry. For me, the best role for the sea buckthorn is in something like a smoothie where you're just taking a little bit of it every single day. We can maybe even make some smoothie packs so that, you know, you have a little frozen pack of a mixed bag of fruit, and sea buckthorn is just one of the things in there, and it's just really easy to make a smoothie.
They actually taste great in tea. So if you can steep whatever leaves that you're making with your tea, even if you have regular tea bags, putting in those orange berries, they have a totally different taste in tea. It actually has this nice, I don't even know how to explain it.
It's like an aroma.
It's like a sweetness that comes out of them.
It's like a citrus.
Yeah, they're really good in tea, and you don't taste that bitterness in the tea, and the smell of your tea is really nice with those berries. Yeah,
so they're great in a steep tea and great in smoothies. Are great as a part of something. Yeah, I find that they're not great tasting on their own.
You get used to them and you just take a handful and shove them in because you know they're healthy.
Yeah, they're medicine. But I mean, like, you know, someone who's a better cook than me can probably find really good ways to make food with sea buckthorn and really capture that really interesting flavor and aroma that they have, and then offset some of the bitterness that they actually have. And bitterness, like, you know, almost like you chewed a Tylenol. It's kind of a weird bitterness. I always like to give new people some of those when they walk by our food forest. Like for the first time I'm giving a tour. Yeah. I'm like, try one of those. They're like the healthiest berry on the planet. And then I just like to kind of watch their face. They're not great fresh eating, but they're probably one of my favorite fruits.
They're way better than my dad's sour cherries.
I like your dad's sour cherries.
Oh my God, they're so sour and so tart.
Yeah.
Okay, hurry up and put the rest on here.
All right, so I think that's about it for the video. We'll cut it here. And we'll see you on the next one. We're gonna basically process the rest of this, and then I'll see you on the next one. That's terrible.